First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Looks like you need a vacation. Enter the 5-Hour Energy Where Will the Tide Take You sweepstakes. You could win a $10,000 dream beach vacation. Imagine jet setting off to a tropical paradise, having fun in the sun, or diving at a gorgeous reef. It's up to you. No purchase necessary. Go to 5HETide.com for official rules and to enter. That's 5HETide.com. Enter today. Ends June 30th, 2024.
Things you need to know before paying your tax bill. Darn it all, this is Scott, you're going to have to hold on. I'll get to you. Things you need to know before paying the tax bill. Hi, Daniel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Daniel J. Is it Geltrude?
That's correct.
All right. Is a CPA and is the author of the book Positive Financial Karma. Well, I'm 55 years old. I've never experienced that. So let's change my life today.
Okay, we'll do that.
So what should you know before paying your tax bill?
Well, it starts with this. As far as your tax return goes, even if you don't have the money to pay your taxes, you should always file the return. Even if it means you make no payment, because there are late filing penalties that are different from late payment penalties. And the late filing penalties are actually a little bit more severe. So you want to make sure that you're always filing that tax return. Now, if you can't pay the tax, then that's another situation that you have to deal with. But I always tell people, no matter what, get that tax return in on time.
If somebody says, I can't pay the whole thing, but I'm going to make a payment, are you better off sending something?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's just say you have a $10,000 tax bill and you don't have $10,000. Mm-hmm. You have $500 available. File the tax return, make the $500 payment, because effort and intention matter in these situations. And then ultimately you want to work out an agreement with the IRS to ultimately be able to pay your tax bill.
That is important, because now it's almost like I guess it's like everything else. If you put a deal together when things are peaceful, you're better off than having, in the middle of the fire and they're coming after you. That's a completely different situation.
It really is. Yeah. When you're in a situation where you may have some tax challenges, let's say, you're always better off coming forward first, again, intention to do the right thing, as opposed to the IRS finding you.
Right.
Now, there's a lot less understanding between the parties, shall we say. And let's put it this way. Everybody knows you got to file a tax return, and everybody knows you have to pay taxes. So there's no excuse to say, well, I didn't know. So the IRS really looks to see, is this person making an effort? Are they trying to do the right thing? In that regard, you're a lot more likely to get some leniency in the process.
Our producer, his name is Andrew, who answered the phone, is a real estate agent. Dun, dun, dun. So collects commissions and that sort of thing during the year. What's your question, Andrew?
My question is,
eyes are lighting up.
Was there an extension for the first quarterly payment, and what happens if that's late?
That is a common question, because the IRS extended the filing due date from April 15th to May 17th. They also extended your payment with that tax return. So any payment that was due related to last year, you get the extra month. However, the first quarter estimated tax payment was still due by April 15th.
Okay.
If you did not make that payment, which is for actually 2021 taxes, then you are subject to a late tax payment penalty.
So even though you're paying in advance based on what you think you're estimating, you're still obligated to make that payment on time, or you could be penalized.
So is it, what is it,
That's
like $100, have I heard?
It's $8,000.
Well,
Well, I'll give them 100 and
depends.
make good faith there.
Yeah.
These penalties are all based upon the amount of tax due.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a flat $100, because you may owe $100 in tax. Someone else may owe $100,000 in tax for that first quarter payment. So it's all driven by the amount of tax due.
I have a guy with a question, Michael, says, I have a home office, a legitimate home office, but I never claim it. I don't want the trouble. What do you think of that?
Well, that's certainly a conservative position. However, there's nothing wrong with claiming any tax deduction that you are allowed legally to take. But this home office deduction, again, a lot of questions about this. The home office deduction on Schedule A of your itemized deductions went away with the new tax laws going back to 2017. The only way that you're allowed to take a home office deduction is if you're, for example, self-employed. You can't be an employee working from home and take that deduction. So that's a little bit of a change that's happened over the last few years you have to be aware of. However, if you are self-employed and you do use your home for business, you're certainly permitted to take that deduction, and you should.
Yeah. Okay. And any other questions here? Anything from the pandemic that people should be aware of because of the pandemic? And don't exclude the fact that if you got a stimulus check, that's not taxable, right?
That's correct. Stimulus checks are not taxable. Unemployment payments that you received up to $10,200 are also not taxable. So those are things that you have to keep in mind. And another thing is, depending on your unemployment status, if you're married, you may be in a situation where it is better to file married filing separately as opposed to married filing jointly. So for those of you that are using a tax preparer that they're paying, you may just want to remind them to say, hey, can you please do the calculation of married filing jointly and separately?
Fair enough. All right, I have Tim with a question for you, Daniel. Tim, you're on with Daniel Geltrude.
Good morning. My question is, I already filed my taxes, got my rebate back and everything, and then I find out I have another W-2 form that I did not claim. What do I do on this now? Do I do an amendment?
Yes, there are two options. You could do nothing temporarily, and the IRS will come back to you with a notice saying, hey, you didn't file this W-2. Now, keep in mind, you may not owe additional tax. Your withholding on your W-2 may be such that you're entitled to an additional refund. So, but if you owe additional tax because of that, well, now you're going to be subject to potentially a little bit of interest and penalty there, right? Or you file an amended tax return, as we were just talking about. You take the initiative. Your intention is to make sure you file an accurate and complete tax return. You file the amended tax return, and you get it straightened out.
All right.
Will the IRS only find that out if they audit you?
No. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that question.
I said, will the IRS only find that out if they audit you, or they will automatically know that you did not include this W-2?
No, they will know. The IRS, what they do is they independently match information. So your W-2, a copy of that was filed by your employer, so the IRS has it. And then there's a match. Did that W-2 appear on your tax return? If it didn't, it automatically kicks it out, and they know information is missing.
What do you do if it's funny because Tim is saying that he didn't catch this W-2. What if he received the W-2 late Because that does happen. There are irresponsible employers out there.
If he did receive it, maybe he didn't receive it at all. I mean, that can happen. Now, he could certainly appeal to the IRS to say that he never received the W-2 or he received the W-2 late and therefore should not be subject to any penalty.
Fair enough.
If there's tax due.
Yep.
However, if there's tax due, he will be responsible for that interest because technically he had use of the money.
Yep.
It was the IRS's money, and he was holding it.
All right, Big Honey wants to know, is the SALT tax in New York still active, and who does it apply to?
Is the SALT tax still active? Yes, on a federal level, the SALT tax, or the SALT cap, rather, has not been repealed or changed. That is one of the hot items that the Biden administration as well as Congress is looking at right now. If you asked me to predict, I think they will lift the SALT cap and go back to the way it was before, allowing the deductions for state and local taxes.
All right. And where are you a CPA, Daniel?
I am in Nutley, New Jersey.
Okay, yeah. Because oftentimes from our guests we get Texas people from Texas, but I could tell your accent. You're one of us up here in the Northeast, no doubt.
I'm a Northeastern person.
Daniel Geltrude, how can people follow you? And of course, there's the book Positive Financial Karma, which is available everywhere. How can people follow you?
People can find me at Geltrude.com or DanGeltrude.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Dan Geltrude.
Okay, good stuff. May 15th is the deadline, right?
May 17th.
Oh, it's the 17th. And why is that? Is the 15th falls on a holiday, or did they move it to the 17th?
They moved it to the 17th because the May 15th falls on a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So they
16th.
made it Monday.
Got it.
So you got
okay.
a couple extra days.
Love it. All right, Daniel, thank you so much. We'll do it again.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.